So I went from completely broke to what most people would call successful in 90 days. And I want to tell you exactly how I did it. In 90 days, I went from making, a few $1,000s a month at my 9-to-5 job as an accountant to making over $50,000 in a single month, which is the most money that I had ever made in my whole life. I still remember exactly where I was and what I was doing. I was living in Denver, Colorado with a couple of my best friends, working as an accountant 9 to 5, 6 days a week, sometimes as much as 12 hours a day, literally grinding my life away. Getting dressed in dress clothes I didn't want to wear, sitting in a commute in a car I didn't want to drive, all the while waiting to get back to my cubicle that I didn't want to be in. And most people think that success is some, snap of your fingers or light bulb turning on or like some epiphany that all of a sudden you're just successful, but that's not how it happens at all. At least that's not how it happened for me. One day I literally just got fed up of dealing with all of that stuff. It was Friday night. I remember it was 8 p.m. My friends were at a music festival. They really wanted me to come. The light was blinking in the conference room. Everyone had left except for me, my manager, and my manager's manager. And I remember being done with my work and saying, hey, I'm done with my work. It's Friday. It's after 5 p.m. Is it okay if I leave? And he said, Kevin, you're not allowed to leave until the manager leaves. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'm done with my work. That makes absolutely no sense to just have me sit here just for the sake of me sitting here. And so that was kind of the breaking point for me, and I got fed up. And that was when I decided to search how to make money online, literally into Google. And that's when I decided to start trying anything and everything legally that I could to make money from a laptop. And at first, very poorly. Now, before you leave this video, I want you to know that I'm not special at all in any way. I'm the farthest thing from. I didn't have much money growing up. I didn't have any connections. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was. And I'd never even met a millionaire in my life coming from a small town. The first attempt that I made to try to make money on the internet was an iOS app actually called Quiz Pixel. Now, at the time, there was a super popular app called Trivia Crack that you might remember, which was basically a quiz app on your phone. It was fun, it was easy, to pass the time. It wasn't very complicated. And essentially what it was just quiz questions that made you, either feel smart if you knew the answer or, feel dumb if you didn't. And so at the time, I loved video games. I knew a lot about video games. And so I decided, okay, Trivia Crack is a popular game. Why not make an app similar to Trivia Crack, but only about actual video game knowledge? And I thought that was a great idea, but I wasn't like a coder or anything like that. And so that's when I went on to Upwork, which at the time was called Odesk. And I actually tried to find a developer to make me this iOS app. And I hired a developer and I talked to him every single night, literally for months, until we finally released the app. I figured out how to get it on the iTunes store. It didn't get approved at first. I had to figure that out. And long story short, it failed, but I learned a lot doing it. And I took everything that I learned from that actual failed venture and I applied it to what I tried next, which at the time was a program called Niche Pursuits by a guy I think named Spencer Hawes, who taught people how to actually make niche websites, rank them in Google, and then make money via affiliate commissions that you actually earned from those sites when people went to your websites based on the keywords that you were ranking for in Google. And so I'll give you an example of what I mean. I made a website called topessentialoils.com because I identified that through his program as a high demand, low competition keyword where I could actually rank a website when people typed in certain types of essential oils. They'd read through the articles on my website about the specific types of essential oils. And then if they were interested, they would buy through my affiliate link. And so that started to work a little bit. We were making a few $100s per month, but overall we weren't making as much as we knew we could be making for the amount of effort that we were actually putting in. And so again, it failed, but I learned. The next thing I tried was called Eat, Sleep, Trek, Repeat, because my whole life I've loved to travel. I've always been frugal and saved my money, any money that I was making, and actually spent it on experiences and traveling the world. And so because I had traveled the world and because I had all this experience through visiting other countries and things like that, I thought, why not make a travel blog? Because at the time there was a super popular travel blog called Nomadic Matt. And I remember seeing that and seeing how much traffic that this person was actually getting to their blog and thinking, oh my gosh, he must be making a fortune through, all the different affiliate commissions for the products that he recommended, through Google AdSense, through all these different ways that you can make money if you do have a loyal subscribership. And so we built out Eat, Sleep, Trek, Repeat, where we wrote blog articles and top 10s about things we need to do around the world and things we need to do in certain countries. And we populated them with pictures that we'd taken, and we hired content writers and all of this different stuff. And it started to work a little bit and we were making a few $100s per month, but again, ultimately it failed. But again, I learned. And at this point, I started to research all the different ways out there to make passive income on the internet or otherwise. I looked into the stock market, I looked into real estate, but the problem with the stock market and real estate is, for the most part, to make a material amount of money doing those things, you have to have money to start, right? If you have $1 million in your stock account, even earning just 5% is $50,000 per year. If you have $1 million to invest in real estate, you can start building up a portfolio of apartment buildings and things that are bringing in recurring revenue revenue that you can then reinvest, and you can get larger loans based on your net worth and equity. But to be able to do those things, you had to have money to start. And at that time, I didn't. And I'd always heard people say things like your net worth is your network. And so I really felt like at that time, I was very socially awkward and I didn't put myself out there. And I didn't have many friends that were entrepreneurs or mentors or anyone that I could actually look up to. And that's when I started to research books about how to actually meet people, how to make new friends that were entrepreneurs, how to find mentors. And that's when I came across a book by Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People that changed my life forever. Essentially, what this book does is teach you how to actually win friends and influence people, how to actually make friends with people who are more successful than you, how to make friends with other entrepreneurs, how to actually get yourself out there and build your network, and how to actually talk to people so that people generally like you for who you are. And so after reading that book, I felt much more confident in my skills. I started to actually go out into public and practice the things that I was reading in this book. And then after enough consistent effort, what I had learned in that book just became second nature to me. And it became much easier for me to actually go out and talk to people and make friends when, naturally I'm really not comfortable doing that. And after reading that book, I started to get addicted to other entrepreneur books. And that's when I found the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And the 4-Hour Workweek was huge for me. Not necessarily the actual implementable tactics in the book, but just how it actually changed my mindset that it was possible to work for yourself, and it was possible to create passive income, and it was possible to create the lifestyle that I knew I personally wanted, because if someone else had done it, to me, that means that I knew I could do it too. And once my mindset changed, I started to see the world through a different paradigm. And I started to realize that a 9-to-5 job is the most successful scam of all time. And if you trace this many years back into the past, you'll see that this was all planned by some very, very wealthy, powerful people like Andrew Carnegie, who basically paid for huge propaganda campaigns to make workers actually stay in the status quo and stay as workers, because what do all rich and powerful people need? They need more employees to work for them to make them richer. And so if you trace this back into society, you'll see all forms of patriotism and propaganda and marketing essentially to keep the majority of people, right? 99% of people in the status quo where they belong, right? So that they can make the rich people paying for those marketing campaigns even richer as their employees. And when my mindset and my paradigm changed, and instead of being the victim, blaming other people like the government or my boss for my own problems and taking full ownership and accountability of everything in my life, that is when my life started to change. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett both independently were asked what is the #1 key to success, and without knowing each other's answers, they both said the same word: focus. And at this point, my mindset was right, my paradigm was correct, which is the most important part by far, but the problem was I still wasn't finding the success that I knew I could get. I just didn't know what I should be focusing on, and I was caught up in what's called shiny object syndrome. I was in such a hurry to hustle that I didn't even actually stop to think about what I should actually be hustling towards. There's a saying from Abraham Lincoln that says if he had 5 hours to cut down a tree, he would spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. And that is one of the quotes that I'll never ever forget, because it really makes you think that people are in such a hurry to do all these things that they don't actually stop and make a plan of action of what they should be doing. You can look back literally 20 years ago at Jeff Bezos' interviews, and you can see him describe exactly what Amazon has become. And having that amount of foresight into the future literally made him the richest person in the world. And so what I did was I took time, instead of hustling every single day, I took a week to actually think about all of the different options out there, evaluate the pros and cons of every single different way to make money online, and then think about which one I thought my skill set and what I liked doing was best fit for, and then which one I thought had the highest potential of actually making the most money and allowing me to have the financial freedom that I was so interested in getting. And after I evaluated all the different options, what I realized was myself and all of my friends were buying pretty much everything that we needed for our day-to-day lives from Amazon. And I mean literally everything. We were buying toilet paper, we were buying toothpaste, we were buying everything. And so because I myself used Amazon and all my friends and everybody that I knew Amazon, I really felt like it was the best potential option out there that I could actually invest, the rest of the money that I had saved from my 9-to-5 job into to make one kind of final huge attempt and push at this entrepreneurship thing, since my previous 3 attempts had really not done as well as I had hoped. And so I read everything that existed at the time, which essentially was only the Jungle Scout blog, and I watched all the videos, even though there wasn't that many videos on YouTube yet. And after I'd done that, I basically went all in. And what I realized was I had to fight shiny object syndrome. And so I evaluated all the options, I determined through pros and cons which the best option was, and then I ignored everything else and I went all in on Amazon, and I doubled down and tripled down on it and eliminated the shiny object syndrome from my life. And what I quickly realized was how hard you work as an entrepreneur is exactly how much benefit you get. And with a 9-to-5 job, it's not like that, right? You can work really hard or you can work very not hard and you're still gonna get paid the same amount every month. And I didn't really like that. It was just a disincentivization. And so I decided to work extremely hard. And so for 90 days, I had my 9-to-5 job. And then when I got home from the gym after the job at 10, 11, sometimes even midnight, I would work for 3 or 4 hours. And then I would wake up the next morning at 6:30 or 7 a.m. in the morning after 3 or 4 hours of sleep until I built my business. And at the end of that 90 days, my life had changed forever. And so from the moment that I discovered Amazon to the point where I was making more than I ever had at my 9-to-5 job was about 90 days. And I was on cloud 9. I left my job, I was working for myself, I was making more money than I ever had. And so I decided that I wanted to travel to Brazil for Carnival. And literally the day I landed in Brazil, my Amazon account, my whole source of income got suspended. And they wouldn't tell me what the suspension was for. They wouldn't tell me anything. And so I finally figured out that the reason for the suspension was that my supplier sold me a photo that they also sold a different brand. And so I got hit with an intellectual property infringement for my supplier selling the same photo twice. And it was that moment that I was in a foreign country that didn't speak English as their primary language by myself with no source of income that I decided that I could never focus 100% of my income on any single platform. And so that's when I decided that I was going to try to pursue my real passion in life, which was teaching, right? My passion wasn't selling random things on the internet. I just wanted to be able to do that so I could have the financial freedom to actually pursue what I loved in life, right? Entrepreneurship is a two-step process. You have to make enough money to do whatever you want, pay your bills, eat food, have a roof over your head, and then you can actually pursue your passion, but not beforehand. And so that's when I started to research how people were actually building communities around Amazon. The largest Facebook group at the time was 29,000 people, and I messaged one of the admins who happened to be from a town close to where I actually grew up in Oregon, and I said, how the heck did you find 29,000 people to get into this group that are all interested in Amazon? And he told me, YouTube. And I said, okay, well, if he can do YouTube, then I could do YouTube too. And since we had that conversation, we've grown a YouTube channel to almost 850,000 subscribers, and we now have the largest Amazon group in the entire world at over 110,000 people, which is more than 2 times bigger than any other group in the world. We expanded into making YouTube content, we expanded into other forms of e-commerce, we expanded into Facebook ads. And I realized that all of it was so interconnected and so synergistic. And since that point, we founded 3 different 7-figure software platforms, and things have literally just gotten crazy. And you're probably saying, yeah, Kevin, that's cool and all, but who cares? And you're right, but my point is it all started with one decision in one moment to make one Google search. And it created this massive snowball effect. I started getting better at more valuable things. And most importantly, I started to gain experience into what worked and what didn't. I started meeting more successful people, which helped reinforce my confidence and my belief that I also deserve to be successful. And I learned that manifestation is real. If you want something in life, you have to picture it, and you have to picture yourself actually getting it. And then you have to put in the consistent daily work to go out and get what you want. You have to find one person that you idolize, someone that has what you want, and then you have to reverse engineer how to get to that same point and make it happen for yourself. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither will your success either. But remember, it all starts from one choice to start. And if you like this video and you want more awesome content similar to it, then check out the playlist that's coming your way in 3, 2, 1, peace.